We're all familiar with the strength of some moves like, I don't know, Scythe Recovery, Lance Nair, Katar Downlight, but we're not talking about those today. We're talking about some attacks that I think are a little underrated. Still very strong in their own right, but maybe they don't get the attention they deserve. And you know what? You might tell me, I talk about this move all the time. I think this move is broken. Well, you know what? Okay, I'm just going off of what I've seen. Don't blame me too hard. Either way, the first move that I'm going to be talking about right now is Katar Sidelight. So what makes Sidelight really strong, in my opinion, is the range. And you might think, what's this measly range you're talking about? We're talking about dash boost. So a lot of attacks in Brawlhalla, when you dash, not only do you get the movement from the dash, but you get an additional momentum boost. So you see the difference in the distance here. Just maybe, what is that? An eighth, a fourth? It's like a fourth. It's like a fourth stage. But if I dash Sidelight, which is about the same, it's half. So you're effectively doubling the distance just by dashing. And just to be clear, dash does not cover that immediate fourth by any means. So it's not like you're just getting the dash distance, it's also a boost. And why this is so strong is because it gives Katar as a weapon with typically short range. You see the Nair only covers this area, the down air only there, the side air a little bit bigger. But by all means, you know, it's not reaching super far on the ground. But you see that reached even from there. The Sidelight can reach regardless. And it's not like Sidelight, once you hit it, you're just doomed. Let me reset the damage here so that you can see. You can get a Nutrilite and a Downlight depending on dex as a true follow-up. 100% true follow-up. Which goes into a string in its own right, and all that shenanigan stuff. So why don't people talk about Sidelight that much? Well, I think Katars, when you talk about moves that seem really, really strong Katars, the main two are Nair and Downlight. Nair because it's just so great, it covers your whole entire hurt box. You can spike, you can gimp with it, you can string with it. It's really nice and easy to throw out, it's relatively safe. It's got a lot going for it, and Downlight is without a doubt one of the best moves in the game. Oh, that is not Downlight. Incredible priority. If you look at just the sharpness of this hitbox, incredible priority. And so I feel like Sidelight gets snuffed out a little bit. It is relatively punishable. If you see when I use it, the blue dot is when I can input another attack or a dodge or anything like that, and the orange is when I can input a Sidelight again. It's recovery frames and cooldown. So I feel like Sidelight gets snuffed, but it is very strong. The range of dash means that you can space at around this distance and whiff punish, which is so strong. And you can't really react to that either, just how fast this is coming in. Like, I don't think anyone is going to be able to react to this approach. And you get a follow-up after that, maybe even potential kill. Sidelight a very strong move. All in all. Alright, let's back out here. Talk about the next move that I have on my list, and it's gonna be a Lance move. Now you're thinking on Lance, what's super strong on Lance? Artemis. I'm just rocking out with some skins that I normally can't use because I don't have mammoth coins. So excuse me while I explore the different skins in the training room. We all know about Lance Nair. Definitely a very strong move. Lance Sair is pretty good, it's a kill move. Lance Sidelight sets up for combos. But right now, I'm talking about the Lance Nutrilite. I really don't hear that many people talk about Lance Nutrilite, but I think it's got a lot going for it, especially considering all the other moves I just mentioned. So Lance, definitely a weapon on the slower side, a punishable Sair for sure, a punishable Dare for sure. All this hurt box movement and everything makes it hard if somebody gets super in on you to do much about it, until you realize you got this nifty little light attack button right here. 18.88 damage, now that's on a high damage Zariel. I believe it does 20 base, if I'm not mistaken, which is a bunch of damage. Nothing to scoff at. And it's also got great range, great priority. If you look at the difference, look how disjointed this is between my hurtbox. You can throw this out and pretty much beat any approach. We're talking about that Katar sidelight earlier. I mean, someone's about to dash sidelight on you. You throw this out, and what are they gonna do? Actually, I think I can even show that. I got the technology to do that. Maybe. Attack light. Oh, it'll just be a Nutrilite. Well, either way, you can see completely outranges it. If I inch closer there. Yeah, so that's really good. It's got range, it's got damage, and it's pretty quick too. Not the hardest move to punish, but not the easiest one either. It does have a bit of recovery frames like everything on the Lance, but it's by no means extremely punishable or anything. I'm just gonna put this back to normal and remove these because they're a little bit annoying. But it's a great option to have on Lance, a weapon that is typically relatively slow. You kind of want to be controlling space a lot of the time. You don't really want to be sent super deep off stage, forced to use a recovery. So you're going to be chilling on stage a lot of the time. If someone gets in on you, boom, throw this Nutrilite out. Deal that nice, solid 20 base damage. And it also is a potential kill option. Lance can typically have a little bit of hard time killing. If you don't land that recovery, if you don't land that Sair, and obviously not a Sig, it's going to be a little hard. Nair doesn't send anywhere, but that Nutrilite does. All in all, a pretty great move. Good priority, good hitboxing. I'm pretty sure it can hit an aerial opponent. Let's test that out. Yeah, 100%. It's got that nice active frame length, so you don't always have to be super accurate with it, and it has no tipper phenomenon, so no matter where you hit it, it's gonna always do the max damage. You don't ever have to worry about spacing it super acutely to get the max damage or force or anything like that, so that's always a good thing to know. It's pretty consistent all around, and I think it's just a great move. Again, I don't really hear that many people talking about it. I think Lance, see, that kind of just sucked him in, or sucked her in, I guess, because it's a Suri. As Asuri was mid-jump, catching out. Oh, I did not mean to open that. Yeah, when I hear people complain mostly about Lance, because I really hear people complain about Lance more than I hear people love it, but that's a whole nother story. It's mostly Sidelight, it's mostly Nair that I hear, and not really Nutrilite. So I kind of want to give Nutrilite a little bit of the justice that it deserves. A little time in the spotlight. That time is over. Let's move on to another Nutrilite, which is going to be Orb. Let's see, what skin can I use for Thor? No, just kidding. I'm playing Dusk. So I can finally learn how to say Nimue. Alright, Orb, Nutrilite is another really strong move in my opinion that really, well, maybe it does get a lot of talk, but Orb is a relatively new weapon. I think Dare, all the aerials, Dare, Nair, Sair, they kind of steal the limelight away from Nutrilite, but Nutrilite is really strong. 15 damage, nothing to scoff at. That was a misinput. You know, it's not Lance on the 20, but it's also a different weapon, so you can't really make it's apples to oranges. Anyway, I think Nutrilite is really strong for a few reasons. Number one, just being the hitbox. So if you'll see, it has a little bit of a little bit of an aerial hitbox here, which you can really start to see if I set Queen Knight to jump and then land it properly. Sort of just gets sucked in no matter where she is in the range of it. Obviously outside of the range it's not going to hit. If I do it backwards it's not going to hit, but that's really strong. To have a fast, quick option like this that also hits aerial opponents, I just barely missed it there, but it's very comparable to the Gauntlet Nutrilite, except my dog is messing up my recording, which is unfortunate, but it's a pretty good example of it hitting pretty high up. You see really the distance that it hits up there. which is super strong, but anyway, that's beside the point. I was talking about Gauntlet Nutrilite is another very quick, strong, sort of get off me option, but it doesn't have that huge aerial hitbox, and so a lot of the time, if you're throwing it out after whiffing, I don't know, maybe a dare or maybe a side light, if your opponent just immediately jumps away, they're going to be able to dodge it and punish it, because it is relatively punishable. But with Orb Nutrilite, because it hits so high up, it's just really hard to avoid the vortex. You can't really contest it immediately by following up with an attack. Like, a really good example is doing a downlight into a whiff Nutrilite is so strong, because downlight has that upward hitbox and the forward hitbox, and then Nutrilite has it too. I mean, you see this rapid fire right here, and that's not even to mention that Nutrilite does have some good follow-ups off of it too. Like, if you hit it correctly, now this might take a little bit, but you can get Nutrilite into side light true. That was extremely slow. Regardless of whether I hit it or not. It is a true combo. Oh, I hit it right away, and then I missed the side light there. Very tragic, but you know what I'm saying. Even beyond that, you can string Nutrilite into downlight at lower percents, and even if Queen Nai tries to jump away, it'll hit. So overall, really strong. It does tend to fall off a little bit when you reach the super high percents, because it won't string into anything, because it does have that variable force, but at the same time you get some good positioning. I say as I like miss a nair, and it can potentially knock out, although ideally you wouldn't be killing them with Nutrilite, you'd be killing them a little earlier with the kill combo. But anyway, Orb Nutrilite, really strong. I think it gives Orb a lot of room to breathe on the ground, which is nice. And yeah, overall good move. Alright, next up, who we gonna play? Let's go Cassidy. Oh, we're going glow box, 100% glow box. And the reason why I'm going glow box is because I want to talk about gun ground pound. Yeah, you heard me right. Gun ground pound. Why am I talking about gun ground pound? Well, you'll see very shortly. That's why I'm talking about gun ground pound. The fact that that hit too, wait, I wasn't even expecting that to hit. So gun ground pound has an insane hitbox. Like, actually an insane hitbox. Now, you see this is just the activation hitbox, which itself is pretty good. It is disjointed, if you see that. But oh my, just look, that's huge. Like, the amount of times that gun, oh whoa, okay, that was also a great angle. The amount of times that gun ground pound has hit a fairly disjointed person. Like, you can see on the wall here, I don't need to space like perfectly right here to hit the ground pound like maybe sword would. I can be a little bit off here, still hit in the zone of the wall, 100% on the wall. Okay, that won't. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna wall slip. Still hit on the wall and completely in the zone that you jump out of. That is so strong to have. Like, hammer ground pound has that. Lance to a certain extent. But the gun ground pound is so good. And what also makes it very strong is the property of manual release. You saw right there, if I held the ground pound, it probably wouldn't have hit. But because I manually released it, oh my, why do I keep hitting that? Bodvar gets hit anyway. It's so strong. It has a lot of force. You can see right there, Bodvar got sent flying. I guess he was in the red, but that's another story. On the lip of the stage right here, someone's trying to come in. You can hit him with a quick reverse recovery, apparently. A quick one of these on stage. And if you hit the reverse, this big hitbox will cover right here, and I'll spike them right down if they're trying to come in. It's just very strong all around. It doesn't really get that much recognition. If you hit both shots, it does 25 damage, which is nothing to laugh at. If you use it on stage, you can do a mix-up where you either bounce off the stage, or you hold it early release, and then don't bounce. And we'll see if they miss the punish and all that. Overall, very strong ground pound. Don't really hear that many people talking about it. I think Gun Dare gets a lot of the attention, which, don't get me wrong, Gun Dare is very strong. And Gun Ground Pound is a commitment, but, I mean, just look at that. Like, this was an early release, and because when you release it manually, it has a lot of active frames, you don't even need to be extremely precise. Just all around very good. Yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about it. You do tend to want to reverse it if you want the big hitbox, because the big hitbox comes out on the opposite side of where you're facing, if you can see there. So if you want to hit someone with the big side in the direction that you were originally facing, you reverse it. Other than that, I think you get the gist. The final move I want to talk about, I'm going to grab my boy here, the big boy. Ooh, that looks interesting. Take a guess. Which move am I talking about as I sip my water? If you guessed cannon recovery, you're incorrect. Although that is a very good candidate. It's cannon Nutrilite. I think this move is incredibly strong. It's kind of been known that this has been super strong. Guarding right here, you saw right there, it hit even though Ember was below. So that's a thing. If you can tell, it comes out very fast. It sends at that angle that sets up into an edge guard, which is very nice, especially for a move that covers the lip right here. To send into an edge guard is very advantageous. But beyond just that one application, it is pretty fast on a weapon that is typically, I'd say, mildly punishable or relatively punishable, at least in comparison to other weapons. Brawlhalla definitely. We're thinking about some gauntlets maybe. Thinking about some scythe maybe. What's nice is it sets up into some strings depending on the percent and everything else. It can lead to kill setups. So you got that Nutrilite, send off stage, maybe toss in a weapon throw, force out options, miss everything, ground pound to your death. You know, just another day in the office. But at lower percents, let's bring Ember down to 0. You can hit with one of those. You see that's a dodge window of 1. Maybe one of those, dodge window of 3. There's a bunch of things you can do after Nutrilite, and on top of that, Nutrilite's a great extender for a bunch of strings. So let's see here. We got a downlight dare into Nutrilite that totally hit right there. I might be lagging. Huh? Alright, either way, I know downlight dare into Nutrilite is a thing at certain percents. Regardless of whether I'm landing it or not in this video, that's irrelevant, okay? It might be slightly relevant. Don't make fun of me for it. Nutrilite is very good. And it's got some good priority too. Again, that's something that I'm harping on, but it is very important. You don't really want to clash all the time. So it's got a bit of an extended little jab there. You saw before it hit on the lip of the stage. That's because it has a nice underside hitbox too. It's not just only above, so you can GC it and hit people on the ground and slightly in the air. I'll set Ember to jump. See what I'm talking about. That was hitting on the upside of it. Sort of sucks Ember in. Gets hit by the second blast. And then on the underside of it, I believe it hit there. Either way, you saw it earlier. With all the other moves working in tandem with each other. But either way, that's the list of 5 underrated moves in Brawlhalla, in my opinion. You know, maybe you think that these moves aren't underrated. Maybe you did, and you're like, hey, these are actually pretty good. Or maybe you're like, these all suck. Either way, this is just my opinion, so take it as you will. Take it with a grain of salt. Maybe more than a grain of salt, if it's something that you don't like fighting against. But either way, that'll be that for this video. If you haven't seen it already, I started a new series with Boomy on his channel where we play random to rank 1 on 2s, and the 2s ranked ladder, so check that out if you haven't, and then come back here because I really need that.